Hello everyone, welcome to the Comic and Movie Show. My name is Deshaun. Today I'm here to talk about the new huge news that just came out earlier today. The Snyder Cut is real. Now, for those of you who don't know, Zack Snyder, as we've talked about many times, was the director on both Man of Steel BVS, and he was supposed to be the director on the Justice League movie. He was supposed to be the Kevin Feige of the DCEU. He's supposed to be the showrunner. Evidence to the fact that he's a producer on Wonder Woman, and I believe he might even have been a producer on Suicide Squad as well. And he was supposed to also probably be a producer on, Aquaman. He was supposed to be he's supposed to be a Kevin Feige. He's supposed to be the guy overseeing the entirety of the DCEU. And obviously, with bringing in Zack Snyder, that meant that Warner Brothers brought in Zack Snyder because they wanted to go in a totally different direction than Marvel. They wanted no one to mix up DC with Marvel, so they brought in Zack Snyder. He went for the dark Zack Snyder tone that works fantastically for things like 300. It works great for things like 300 and Watchmen. It works for that kind of stuff. Or, more hardcore things. Things that are just things that are inherently dark in their bones, that you can't really even get around. You can't even gloss it up at all if you wanted to. You know what I mean? It works for that. But for me, that doesn't work for Superman. It works for Batman, but he even takes that too far. You know what I mean? He even pushes that to another level that makes a lot of Batman fans uncomfortable. And me personally go, that's not even Batman anymore. You might as well be doing a different character who just happens to be named Bruce Wayne. So obviously, there was a lot of mixed emotions. Man of Steel came out. It was it was a successful movie. It made profit. It made a lot of profit actually. I think Man of Steel made about $600 million, which is a really good thing, especially for a movie like that at the time. Especially at the time, $600 million was nothing to slouch at. I think it made something along those lines. But obviously Warner Brothers didn't. They weren't sure. So they brought Batman in. And they brought Batman in to spice BVS up. BVS was built up to be the thing to rival the Avengers. This will be the biggest movie of all time. I will never, ever forget when I was younger and when BVS was coming out, and I was actually starting to get excited for BVS. I thought that trailer for the first trailer for BVS was one of the greatest trailers I ever seen in my entire life. That thing hyped me up. That thing convinced me that maybe this is gonna work. That thing made me go, you know what? There's room for two cinematic universes. I love Marvel more, but there's room for me to add another love to my heart. You know what I mean? That trailer really did it for me. But when I heard that executive, one of the big executives there, say, and I quote, that this is Batman and Superman, this isn't some flavor of the month like Ant-Man, which Ant-Man had just come out, had been a smash, had been an unexpected hit, had been a fantastic movie. It wasn't like the biggest earner in the Marvel universe, cinematic universe, but it was a hit. It made profit. It was a hit. It's one of the higher rated Marvel movies, one of the most entertaining Marvel movies, and most people I know enjoyed Ant-Man. Had a great time watching Ant-Man. So when he said that, it really made me realize the headspace Warner Brothers was in. Warner Brothers thought that just having the IP of Batman, Superman, and the DC IP, that they were going to just make profit. That people are dumb and that people don't care if the movie's good or not or if it makes any sense. We're just going to do it this way. And honestly, and then it backfired. BVS was probably one of the most controversial films ever made. It starts nerd fights in bars. If you go to a convention or something and you start arguing over BVS, it might throw down. That's just what it is. BVS and Man of Steel are these controversial rods. So that when BVS come out, I say all this to tell you that because just to kind of give you a perspective of how far this Snyder Cut thing has fallen apart. Right then and there, when BVS didn't work out, it did not make $1 billion. It made profit. It made a lot of money. It was technically a hit. But this movie, BVS is projected to make somewhere like $1.5 billion. It was projected to make a more than the original Avengers. It didn't even crack $1 billion. It ended up I think it ended up petering out at 800 something, maybe 900, maybe the low 900s, which is still a hit, still a lot of money. But when your aim is like 100, when your aim is like something like 1.6, 1.8 billion dollars, and you come at $900 million, that's a bomb for what your estimates were. So that's all I gotta say about that. And right then and there, when BVS didn't work out, when BVS was in this crowning achievement, was in this launching pad that they thought it was gonna be, everything sort of fell apart for Zack Snyder. First of all, his daughter committed suicide, which is a serious thing, and I felt bad for him, and I'm still, condolences to him and his wife. His daughter committed suicide. It was anarchy behind the scenes. Like, Warner Brothers wanted to get rid of him. Warner Brothers started micromanaging him. And then it became just this chaotic thing. And then Suicide Squad came out and was made money. It was a hit. Suicide Squad was a legitimate hit. It made more money than they even projected it to make. But, it still wasn't very well received. So, by this point, after Wonder Woman came out, it was pretty clear that Warner Brothers wanted to go in a different direction. It was pretty clear that Warner Brothers wanted Zack Snyder out. They were done with Zack Snyder. To be fair, Zack Snyder, I'm giving him a hard time with all the stuff going on with the cut. He was the scapegoat. He was at fault, really, because I really don't think I think his tone just didn't mesh. I mean, when I heard Zack Snyder come out and say that in my world, Batman can get raped in prison, I remember thinking, the hell did he just say? What? I don't want to watch that. And like I say, Zack Snyder is a unique guy. His films look fantastic. The look of them are fantastic. But he's a steak. He's all sizzle and no steak. That's what Zack Snyder, he is the living if you looked up the definition of style over substance, you would see Zack Snyder. And sometimes that works. When you're doing a story that has very minimal complexity. So 300 works because there's not too much to think about. 300, if you watch history, you already know what happens. Leonidas gonna fight thousands of Spartans with his 300 men. Badass action, looks great, cut dudes, blood and gore. That's it. It's pretty simple, straightforward. There's no real complexities to that. Watchmen was a bit more complex, which is why Watchmen is probably between the two movies the least, between 300 and Watchmen. Most people would probably say 300 was the better movie because there's a little bit more complexities to it. But even then, it's not him doing anything. He just went shot for shot remake of the books. So even then, it's not that, he is not a particularly good writer. He's not a good writer. He's not a good writer. He's a really decent director, but he just has a beautiful eye. He has a real eye for production and whatnot. And those movies and the way, but the problem is, which is fine, but the problem is he tries to push it off as these deeper concepts, especially in BVS, and it's not. It's not. BVS is not a very good movie. Even the cut, I don't care. The cut doesn't do enough to change the movie. It just clarifies that Jimmy Olsen's the guy who got his head blown off and things of that nature. It just clarifies here and there. But I don't like his interpretation of Superman. I think he was onto something with his interpretation of Batman, but he went too far. And the thing is, so he is at fault at times, but he was made the scapegoat. But then they brought in Joss Whedon. They brought in Joss Whedon to redo Justice League, and we got the Abomination, the shit movie that we ended up getting. But after that, Justice League came out, bombed, one of the biggest bombs of all time. Movie projected to make a movie that's supposed to make that's about almost cost about as much as Endgame, and is supposed to make about somewhere north of $1 billion, at least north of $1 billion. Didn't even make. I don't even think it made $600 million. That movie was one of the biggest bombs of all time. And when it bombed, when fans didn't like it, they obviously went, "There's a cut." And then this rumor leaked out that there's this cut. There's this Zack Snyder's plans leaked out because Zack Snyder was angry. I talked about his whole rant that he had against, on stage with fans. He was angry. He was all over the place. And needless to say, he, put it out there that he had a cut of the movie. That his movie was supposed to be a two-parter. A lot like Infinity War and Endgame. Kind of made me want to spit up just comparing Snyder's cuts to Infinity War and Endgame. But, a lot like Infinity War and Endgame. And how it was going to be different, how Superman was supposed to have the black suit, and then all of this stuff started coming out over the past, a couple years since Justice League came out. You had the production designer coming out showing images, tiny clips of the freaking the black suit. You had like artists coming out with their concept art of Henry Cavill with the whole long hair wearing the black suit. You had all this. You got this. Then he put out this concept art of Darkseid. Apparently, Darkseid was supposed to be on Earth fighting alongside goddamn Steppenwolf. And like I was just like, he just put all this stuff, and there was all this stuff, but you never thought anything would come of it. And now today they announced the Snyder Cut will be coming to HBO Max in 2021, and it will be a 4-part series. Yeah, it will be a 4-part series, and each episode will be an hour, which it's actually a movie. They just cut it up into 4 parts. Yes, people, you're gonna have to watch 4 hours of this thing, which I was like, ooh. And I posted on Twitter, got a lot of likes too. I was like, why in the hell would I want to watch 4 hours of this? Why? Why in God's name would I want to do that to myself? But yeah, it's just funny. It's just funny to me. It's funny to me, and like, so like, it's official. The Snyder Cut is coming. It's coming. Zack Snyder commented about it earlier today. Henry Cavill was talking about it, and it's reported that Warner Brothers really didn't want to do it, but Time Warner, who are the guys who own Warner Brothers, no, AT&T, my bad. AT&T owns Time Warner, which is Warner Brothers, and AT&T went over them and went, no, we want you to put that out for our streaming service. And so now they're putting it out, which to me should kind of tell you that this thing probably must not be good if Warner Brothers themselves are like, yeah, this sucks. No, we're not putting this out. But the fans begged for this thing. That's the thing I don't quite understand is, why are people begging for this? Like, do you guys do understand that if BVS went off without a hitch, that the Snyder Cut would be the only cut you got, right? The fact that BVS didn't is why you didn't get the Snyder Cut. It's not like Warner Brothers was like, it's not like Zack Snyder did such a fantastic job on BVS and then Warner Brothers screwed him over. No, BVS is one of the most controversial movies of the entire year that it came out of all time. It spawned multiple memes. It broke freaking Ben Affleck. Like seriously. BVS was a nightmare for so many people. It killed the DCEU before it ever even started. So it's not like Warner Brothers just randomly came to the conclusion that they should get rid of them. It didn't work out. So I don't understand why so many people, because like, I understand the people who love BVS begging for this, but the idea that there's so many people, millions of people are begging for this cut of a movie to a bad movie is baffling to me. I've been tweeting all day, like, not tweeting all day, but I've made a couple comments, not a lot. I kind of over-exaggerated there, not a lot, maybe 1 or 2. About, like, well, shit, man, next thing you know, they're going to be asking for a freaking extended cut to Cats. Like, I would understand having a petition for an extended cut to Mad Max, Fury Road, you know, the extended cut to, like, a John Wick movie, or extended cut to something good. Something most people like. You know, this isn't the case. This isn't the case with, like, I don't know, like a Dread, where it's like an underrated movie. No, people spoke with their wallets, and critics spoke with their scores. The Zack Snyder movies didn't do too hot either way. So I don't see why everyone wants this movie. Personally, I'm not gonna watch it. I don't care. I never watched the special edition of BVS because I watched reviews on it, and all of them kind of said, and the ones who liked it kind of said the same thing. They were like, oh, they added this tidbit and this tidbit and this tidbit. I'm like, that's not enough to make me just drastically change my opinion on the movie and go from, this movie's a piece of shit to, oh, I love it. That's not enough for me. I'm like, no, unless they did a whole freaking redo of a movie, that's not enough. So I highly doubt whatever he does with this movie, there are going to be people who love it, because there are going to be people who just instantaneously just love that tone that he was going for regardless. And then there are going to be people who are like, whatever. So we'll see. We'll see. Thank you guys for joining the Comic Game Movie Show. What do you think about the Snyder Cut being real and going to be released? I know I had a mouthful. I kind of went on a history lesson. I just wanted to refresh people on the history behind the Snyder Cut, on the history behind Zack Snyder in this position, and how we even got to this point, and to understand that this isn't being released because they're giving the fans what they want. This is being released so that they can flip a profit, which is a genius business move. I talk all the time about how I like to look at things from a business perspective, and from a business perspective, for AT&T, this is a genius move, because there's going to be so many eyes on this thing. There are going to be so many people who come watch it just to see it. Just to see it. There are going to be so many DC fans. I don't know if it's going to be enough to freaking like bolster ratings or anything crazy like that. But they're smart. That's why they made it a series. That's why they broke it up into 4 parts so they can linger it out. They're gonna copy Disney Plus, you know, even though they probably didn't plan on it, but they're gonna copy Disney Plus. So thank you guys for joining the Comic Game Movie Show. Are you excited for this, or are you like me, where I'm just like, I really don't care. I'm not gonna watch it. I don't care. I'm almost to the point where I really don't even care about the reviews for it. I'm probably not gonna talk about it after this. I'm probably not gonna see it when it comes out. Unless it's like out of this world, I'm probably not gonna have HBO Max in the beginning until they start putting till like Green Lantern and like Justice League Dark and some of those other shows start popping up on there, which is gonna be a while. So we'll see. Thank you guys for joining the Comic Game Movie Show again. Remember to like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.